Hey all, it's Stu here with Real Canadian Liberal Podcast. Sat outside once again enjoying beautiful Alberta, rural Alberta, native, well not all of it's native, but much of this place is native northern parkland ecosystem, which is a fantastic, fascinating area to live and to work. And if anyone's interested in ecology and ecosystem function and everything else, it's a great area to study. Anyway, I'd like to just have a quick chat with you about immunity. I was watching a clip from Joe Rogan the other day. He was talking to, I think he was an MMA fighter, I can't remember, it was just a short clip, talking about vaccines. And his buddy had had COVID and then had a vaccine as well, which has struck me as utter insanity. Here's the thing. A vaccine, a proper vaccine, gene therapy treatments are a little slightly different. But anyway, a vaccine triggers a thing called a memory T cell function, the same as catching a live virus does. Your body forms an antibody to destroy whatever the pathogen is, and what it does is it targets things called immunogenic epitopes, which are proteins or chunks of protein that the body recognizes as being foreign, and obviously that's part of the structure of the virus, whatever it is. So if the body goes and attacks those proteins and breaks them, then it actually ends up destroying the structure of the virus. And the things that do the attacking are called antibodies. And this MMA fighter had said, yeah, well, when I was tested for antibodies, I didn't have any antibodies in my body, so I thought I'd better get vaccinated anyway. Well, that means he didn't understand how the immune system works. Producing antibodies is very metabolically expensive. Your body does not produce antibodies for every disease that you've ever experienced in your life or that you're immune to. What it does, excuse me, is produce antibodies when you've got an immunogenic epitope present in your body. It produces antibodies to go and destroy those immunogenic epitopes. And when the body no longer detects those, it stops making antibodies. And the antibodies have a certain lifespan, whatever it happens to be. It could be short, medium, long term, who knows. For example, the people who are suffering from a celiac reaction, which is an autoimmune reaction where the celiac the gluten protein, or gliadin technically, gets your body to produce an antibody which destroys that protein but also attacks body tissue. That's why it's an autoimmune disease. Anyway, someone gets exposed to gluten, a celiac gets exposed to gluten, that antibody reaction, provided they don't get re-exposed, will last somewhere in the order of 8, 12, maybe 16 weeks, right? And then all those antibodies decay off, die off, because they're no longer detecting gluten in the body. So the body's no longer making antibodies, and the antibodies die off and disappear. And you say, well, hang on a second, how am I immune to these things? Well, it's simple. It's called a memory T cell. Your body remembers how to make those antibodies, and it remembers what those immunogenic epitopes look like. So, for example, if you've had SARS-CoV-2, coronavirus, COV-1, MERS, lots of different influenzas, whatever. I had H1N1 in 2009, I had coronavirus last year. My body, if it gets that virus into my body again, if it gets past my mucosal and innate immune system, my body will recognize those immunogenic epitopes and will go, hey, we got the blueprint for the antibodies for that, and boom, memory T cell kicks off manufacture of antibodies, and off they go and destroy the virus. And chances are it'll react fast enough that I will not even notice symptoms, or I might just have minor symptoms because I'm immune. My immune system deals with the problem and away it goes. I don't need a vaccination. I've had a vaccination. It's called the real virus. Vaccinations are for people who have not had the real virus. Most people have had the real virus. We can tell from statistical analysis of the death rates in Alberta over the last 18 months or so, that probably a good proportion of the population of Alberta have been exposed to and developed immunity to SARS-CoV-2. Now, there are elderly people for whom immunity doesn't last very long because they have other problems in their system. Those people, unfortunately, may not have longer-term immunity, but someone who is metabolically fit and healthy and has a functioning immune system and is not feeding the body a whole pile of processed garbage, not eating a Bill Gates diet, or the one that Gates wants us all to eat, is probably going to be fine. And the risk of this virus is very, very low for healthy people. So there you go. The idea that you need a vaccine if you've already had SARS-CoV-2 is utterly insane, and it actually could be counterproductive because the vaccines can have side effects that you wouldn't get from the actual live virus. So here's the point. That's how your body works. Do not expect to see antibodies floating around your body for every virus that you've ever experienced in your whole life forever, because your body cannot physically keep up the production of that many antibodies. It would destroy you, because it's metabolically very expensive. So your body will produce them on demand. It has things called memory T cells that remember how to make these antibodies. Right? It's just the same as someone having a blueprint for building a house. It doesn't mean that they're building houses all the time. It just means they have a blueprint to build a house when someone wants that house. Same thing. And they can produce them very quickly. So there you go. That's how the memory T cell function works. That is what vaccines are supposed to trigger. And that is what the real virus will trigger if you've had a disease, whatever it happens to be. So there you go. Just thought I'd clear that up for some people. Don't go out and get a vaccine for flu or for whatever if you're not already unhealthy. Stupid. It's a really dumb idea. Right? If you just recently survived diphtheria, don't bother going to get a diphtheria vaccination, for example, the next week. It won't help or make any difference. Now, there are some things that your immune system doesn't remember over the long term. Medical science covers those, and you need top-ups, right? Tetanus, something that people have a top-up vaccine for every 5 years or whatever it is. There's various other things like that. So just pay attention to the research. The long and short of it is, coronavirus immunity, as far as we're aware, lasts a good couple decades at least. We've got people who had SARS-CoV-1 who still produce antibodies to defend against SARS-CoV-1 18 years on. And that's scientific literature only published last year. So yeah, long-term immunity is pretty much the standard. So don't worry about it. If you had the bug, you're immune and you don't need anything else. The normal functioning immune system will deal with it. And it'll deal with the variants too. They're not really that different. They're pretty much the same thing. So there you go. It's like difference between a crew cab and a club cab in the same model of pickup. Most people couldn't even tell a difference, and neither will the immune system. So, immunogenic epitopes. If your body has seen them before, it'll get rid of them, and you don't have to worry about the virus. It's called immunity. It's the natural system that's kept us alive for millions of years, and it's not going away anytime soon. So please stop worrying, stop panicking, stop running off to get yourself injected with all kinds of stuff at the drop of a hat. If you're at risk, you'll know you're at risk. You're someone who is suffering from cancer or metabolic dysfunction or whatever, then that's when you might want to consider the risk of taking an experimental vaccine. If you're not in a risk category, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just someone who works in the biological sciences for a living, and it's up to you. But these are experimental treatments, and the human body is far more resilient than people think. So think about that, and I'll talk to you in another video. Thanks. Bye.